You were born on the Daniels farm?
Yes, I
It's known as
was.
the Daniels farm? Is that Daniels Farm Road?
Yes.
Has that always been Daniels Farm Road?
No. They didn't have names until it was just a highway.
Oh, okay.
Highway 4, I believe.
Highway 4 or something
Yeah,
like
then-
that.
yeah.
You must have a lot of, like, you brought a couple of folders, photographs today. You must have a whole stack of photographs and family pictures.
Yeah, I guess we have, old. I've got a lot of older ones. What the farm, the house and the barn look like, and I guess when we kids were growing up, we had a few. So,
What type of cows did they have on the farm?
Jersey.
Jerseys?
They had my brother was just getting them bred so that it would be full-blooded Jerseys when he died. And we were supposed to put in a bulk tank because they had, at that point, we just go in cans and putting them in the cooler. But the state was going to make them put in bulk tanks. And they were debating because the road went between the two barns. And at that point, and they didn't know where they'd put it. And then they decided where. And then he died. He dropped dead. He dropped with a heart attack. They got him into the house, but he didn't live. So he was only 43. Yeah. Then they sold everything. Russ and I thought we might want to take it over, but my uncle and my mother said, no, we're going to sell. So they had an auction.
And what year was that? Do you remember?
59. The Stephen was 2. He was born 57. Yeah.
And the cows went?
Yeah, they auctioned them, yeah. Local farmers bought some. I know Lot Matthew bought 2 or 3. Or maybe more, I don't know. I didn't go to the auction. Then their equipment too was sold.
So you were living at the farm at that point?
No, we were on Route 5.
Oh, so...
Yeah. My mother called my sister called. And Russ answered the phone about 6:30 in the morning. And he come up to the bedroom. He says, Glenn died. And I said, you mean Carl? Because my uncle had heart trouble. No, Glenn. I said, well, Glenn who? I couldn't believe that I'd seen him Sunday and he was perfectly all right, and this was probably about Wednesday.
So you said earlier that you and Russell had gone to work at the farm or gone to live on the farm and be there?
Yeah, we were there 2 times. The first time was just Russ and I. I can't remember why I guess Glenn thought he could handle it by himself. And the herd wasn't as big at that time. So that's when Russ went to the corner garage. Then, when Ted and Kathy were small, they were born in 52 and 54, and Glenn wanted us to come back and try, and so we did, but there wasn't enough money coming in for both families. So that's when we decided to buy the house in Passumpsic. Yeah. Well, not in Passumpsic, it's in Waterford, but.
So who was living on the farm after Glenn died?
His widow. He had married. His widow and my uncle. He never married, Uncle Carl, and my mother. Uncle Carl wanted a firehouse for the fire pump. We had built a pond, and he wanted, and Mom said, I'm getting my kitchen remodeled before. That's the only time I think she stuck up her guns. And Dad said, okay, and they did both. Yeah.
Is that when she got the refrigerator?
Yes.
That didn't go in
No, she had a refrigerator before that because we used to keep it in the dining room. Yeah, there was no room in the kitchen for it. No, it was just, the kitchen was quite small, and of course there was the pantry off the kitchen. So she kept it in the dining room.
Now, I don't know enough about when things like that came in. When did, do you have any idea when she got that?
Probably 1938,
Wow.
37 or 8. We had the icebox, of course.
You must have quite a few acres of farmland.
I think there was 500
500
in all,
acres.
yeah.
Because did anybody do any logging? Or
They-
forestry?
They did. I think before Grandpa bought it, there was a logging company that over in by back of Stiles Pond, they had logged that. And because somehow they were connected in the deed. And then my folks bought that property. And I don't know, they must have logged off from the first part of the property, because I've got pictures of the logging, and that was about the time they decided to put a sawmill in, and it was during the Depression, and it worked good because people around would bring their logs, and Uncle Cal, he's very, very talented with his machinery, didn't like cattle, so he wouldn't farm that way, but he took care of the machinery. And the horses, when they had horses, he loved horses. So that worked out pretty well.
Did they use the sawmill for anything else?
Make cider.
All right.
And of course, some of it, that my mom would say, I'm having my vinegar. If you don't have your cider. Yeah.
So did you have an apple orchard?
They just got wild apples off
Wow.
all over where there was trees. Yeah. Some years were good and some weren't.
Did you do any of that?
No, I used to watch. Yeah. I was pretty young at that point.
Did they do any maple sugaring?
Oh, that kept them going during the Depression. Yeah. They had a big sugar orchard. And Uncle Carl there again, he would drive the horses, and brother Glenn would gather, and my father would boil. They had their own gasoline pump. Yeah.
Whoa.
That's another thing. My uncle was very, very good at, when anything come out, he had it. And during the Depression, it worked good because their farm machinery, there was machinery for farming, so they were not Depression so much as the war. Gasoline was rationed, but we always had plenty. We could use it we only went down once a week, got
So
groceries.
big trucks come and bring the gasoline to your
Yep.
tank?
Yeah, it was a big tank. It was up in the field. I don't know where it is now, I guess. But back in the old days, they didn't think about, leaks and stuff.
Did they ever quarry slate from?
Oh, that's another thing. They quarried slate.
Oh.
Yeah. So we never was during the Depression like some people, because we had the slate and the sugaring. I remember when maple syrup went from $2 a gallon to $3, and my father was ecstatic. Oh, he was so happy. Oh, that was really. And
So where was your sugar house?
it's about where Ken Keach's house is now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I guess Ken was using the maple. Uncle Kyle told him he could make maple syrup, and so he left the arch, the sugaring off arch, and Dad had always worried for fear it would catch fire, and he'd go out and check it at night after. But boy, one night it burned. So But Ken put up another one, and it's the Ken's back house, not the front.
Right.
Yeah.
Way in the back.
Yeah, the one that was on my land.
What happened to the horses on the farm? Did they die on the farm, or they just sold?
I think they just sold them. I don't remember only one that had to be put down on the farm.
So the farm is different now in that the road, well, Slate Ledge Road.
Yes,
And you also had a barn and a shed.
yes,
That burned.
that connected to the house. There again, if the whole place would have gone, if it hadn't been for the fire hoses. And we were gone. Russ and I had gone over to Maine because I had to get away because there were so many kids. So every so often we'd go to Maine. Well, Judge Wesley said it. She says, you go. And so we went over, and Sunday morning before we came home, phone rang, and it was Kathy saying the barn had burned.
Whoa.
And if Stephen, he was probably, he might have been in high school, but he would go out every week, and Saturday he'd go out with his father and start the engine. The old fire, it was an old gasoline engine. Now you thought, why are they starting that every week? Made an awful racket. So, but it's a darn good thing he knew how to do it, because he started it, he got the hoses going. And when Hubert Simons, the fire chief from St. Jay, come around the corner, he's, oh my God, that whole place is going. But when he got around, he saw the water hoses. He kept it under control until.
Boy.
So those hoses were your hoses, not the fire department?
Yeah, we had the fire department, I think was going to get a new engine, so we bought that from them, and the hoses I think we got from them. So we had everything.
You had your pond.
Yeah, that's when they put those 3 ponds in, and was one of them, the back one by the house, was for that protection. And there again, my uncle,
Carl.
yeah,
Huh?
he thought of these things, He didn't work hard, but he kept things going. Yeah.
I was going to say, it sounds like he was very important from
He-
time to
he
time.
was.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, we realized that. The house was like it is now, only it
Yeah.
had an old wood stove in the kitchen
Uh-huh.
and a pantry.
Right.
And we had one bathroom that was off the kitchen.
An inside bathroom.
Yeah, and then we had the outside one too.
Mm-hmm.
But I never remember using that. We had put in the
Mm-hmm.
tub in the stool.
Right.
We churned butter too, and we sold that. There was a churning room off the kitchen, and now we made it into a apartment.
Right.
So they made butter and sold it. Mom, one year, well, more than 1 year, they had lumbered over on the Hovey place, we called it. That's over back, facing hers. And Mom would go over, she and Mrs. Hooley, who lived neighbor, they'd pick raspberries, and she'd take them down. That's how we kids got our shoes. She'd take them down and sell them on, I don't know, probably to the grocer, I'm not sure. But they sold potatoes to a lot of people in town, bushel at a time. Mom and Dad and we girls was in kind of it's shaped like a V, the
Yeah.
roof.
Yeah.
There was 3 bedrooms there, well, 4, because we had a little nursery light. So in the winter, we'd move downstairs.
Oh.
My mother and Dad would have their room, which is the den now that people have got, and we used to have another room,
All of you.
and that heat from the old wood furnace would keep us warm. It would be cold sometimes, but when Dad got up in the morning, he'd stoke it up. Yeah, all we had was a register in my mum's and father's room. But then my uncle and Glenn's was in the L shape, and they had radiators, old steam radiators.
Oh, heated from a furnace?
Yep,
Uh-huh.
yep,
Carl put together
probably.
to keep himself warm.
To keep himself, the rest of the house didn't get them, right?
Yeah, they put one in Glenn's room, and then there was one in Uncle Carl's. He's kind of slept in the hallway, but it was big enough for room. That's what he wanted. And we had one in the dining room, living room, and bedroom. Kitchen. That's when Mom would bring her clothes in. They'd freeze on the line when she washed on Mondays, and she put newspapers. Back then, the print couldn't have been like it is now, because she'd lay the clothes over newspapers on the register or radiator, and then put her clothes over that. Yeah.
Huh. So you outside would dry them out mostly.
Yeah, she had the porch. We had a big porch, and she'd hang them on that and bring them in. Probably, I don't know if she'd bring them that same day or not. But then she'd put quite a few on bars too, clothes bars. Yeah. Didn't have the conveniences we do now.
No. And then you gardened, vegetable garden.
Yeah, we had our vegetable garden. Mom took care of that. She and us kids. They got it in for her, and then we had to take care of it.
And that's where the potatoes came from that you sowed.
No, well, they had a field.
Oh, they had a field.
A field for potatoes.
Oh.
Yep. In the garden, we would have radishes and lettuce, carrots, the small.
Right. Did you have any other things you grew in the fields of? Besides
Corn.
potatoes? Corn.
But mostly that was field corn for the cattle. And we used to put it into the silo, because the silo the top of it's gone in now. And I heard they're going to tear down the barn. A photographer came one time, and I went out to get the mail, and I see this guy down the road. And so I went back in, and he was taking pictures in the following year. And the barn, and then the trees behind it. And after we moved, the people that lived there, one of their daughters told my daughter, there's a picture of your old farm. It was somebody over in Maine. I got his name, and I had 3 pictures made of it.
Did you ever have Winnie roast out in the field somewhere?
Yeah, we did once a year, especially when hot dogs and corn roast. That was a big thing at the end of the year. We had a big bonfire out in the pasture, and yeah, that was fun.
And when you say the end of the year, do you mean what, around harvest time? Or
Yeah, in the fall.
in the fall.
Yeah, after the corn
And
ripened.
who would come?
Oh, we had, of course, my sister and her husband and his brother, his mother and father. They were quite close to us. And
So it's family party.
yeah, now Hazel Simpson, we used to have sugaring off too. And Hazel remembers coming to sugaring off. I don't. I know we sugared off, but I didn't. And she said, oh, she'd love that.